This is an SABC News presentation.
Hello masipotise kuninonke emakhaya nakwindawo ngendawo enibukeleni kuzo. Welcome to this week's episode of Yilungelo Lakho, It's Your Right. We are broadcasting to you live on SABC 1 Mzansi for sure. Igama lami kaloku Sisanda Jonas na njengesiqhelo kaloku mawethu kameni kwexesha siza kunivulela iminxeba ukuba nani nithabathe inxaxheba. Our studio number is 011 714 6918 or 714 6919. Ukanti ungasithumelela ne-email ku-consumer@sabc.co.za okanye usidondole kwi-Facebook page yethu ethi Yilungelo Lakho. Alternatively ungasithumelela ke ne-tweet ku@Yilungelo. Ever heard of stories of consumers who buy houses or land and being unable to take ownership? Well, these are real experiences faced by many home buyers, especially first-time homeowners. One of those is Sebokeng resident east of Johannesburg, Abram Malali. Abram Makhale's problems began in 2005 when he bought this house in Zone 25. He secured bank finance to buy it, but up to now he has not been able to move in because the previous occupant is allegedly refusing to leave. The court intervened and threw out the previous occupant, but members of the community allegedly returned the previous occupant into the house. This emerging entrepreneur also bought this piece of land for 33,000 Rand cash from New Way Housing Development in March this year. Up to now, the company has not transferred ownership into Makhale's name as agreed. Lawyers representing New Way Housing Development say the terms and conditions of the sale were fully explained to Makhale and that there was nothing irregular in the manner in which they dealt with him. Well, we do have some of the statements from the lawyers, but throughout the show we'll be able to read some of the things that are coming out of that story. But now let me introduce our guest to you. We do have Baba Jimmy Baloyi, yenake opuma oyinhloko elawulayo Estate Agency Affairs Board. Samkele ke no Abram Malali ngokwakhe ukusichazela banzi ke ngokwenzekileyo. Sibe naye ke siphinde ke samkele noSibusiso Zondi phaya kwi-studio sethu saseThekwini. Yena kaloku uvela kwi-board yonotimba i-South African Sheriff's Board KwaZulu Natal. Well, gentlemen, welcome to the program. Ngizawuqala ngawe ke Babu Makhale, unilungisile kuqala busithi indawo oyithengileyo ibisezone
Zone 24.
Zone 24. But ulapha studio namhlanje uzokwazi wena usibalisela ngebali lakho exactly what happened. To give us a further understanding of what happened, take us through your story. You bought a house in 2005.
2005 ngithenge indlu ku agent. Le agent Tim Modipa. So le ndlu bathi bese auctioning. Ngathi beyidluwe bank yamukiswa ku auction. Bese ngiyenza ama arrangement ngebhank ke lendlu bebiza 70,000. Ibhank yangitshela ukuthi okay, I must go back to Mdipa, must give me offer to purchase. Mdipa wanginika ngayibuyisa ku bank. Ibhank yenza konke izinto ke. Yabona? Kusuka lapha la maloya ase Nanford yiwe bakayenza ama transfer alendlu le. Suka lapho wasuka se uTimothy waya nami lapha kule ndlu le yona le agent siyofuna lo muntu simtshela ukuthi fanele aphume kwindlu singasamthuli washiya incwadi bekasebenzisa amaloya waka illegal wise yena lo muntu so siye 3 times lokushiya incwadi singamthuli noma siyayibusuka angekho lapho yabo bese ngorganize ama sheriff ngabhatala 2005 yeah.
Indlu se-registerishwe ngegama lakho ngoku?
Yes, registered. Ama lawyer I apply again from the court order. Beza bo sheriff bangithole ekhaya ngaya nabo. bafika ke bayakhipha impahla ngoba qethe ukhipha impahla i-community yahlangana yabuyisela le mpahla ngaphakathi. After all kusuka lapho ngabona ukuthi ayikhona kusho ukuthi akuna safety. Noma ngalo kuya phambili noma ngangena mhlawumbe kuzobana nama problem amaningi. Bese ngibhala incwadi ngibhalele ibank. Ngithi ayi ngoba ngikhona ukungena ngasendlini. Ngoba bebalokhu bayadonsa imali. Ngoba kuloku angikhona ukungena ngasendlini ayi ngeke ngikhona ukubhatala ngoba ngikhona ukungena ngasendlini.
Lento iqale ngo-2005 kungoku nje awukangeni endlini yakho.
Likasho kusukile.
Babu Baloyi mandize kuwe, you're representing an estate agency board.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, you know, mhlawumbe utata Makhale uthethela abantu abaninzi who've experienced such problems. Ingabe uyibone kangakanani na ingxaki ingayigabadele kangakanani ingxaki le katata Makhale eMzantsi Afrika?
You know, as the Estate Agency Affairs Board, we have seen a lot of those kind of problems, and it happens a lot in the townships. You'd find that the person that's occupying that house at that particular moment in time, at some stage couldn't afford to pay the installments, and the bank repossessed the house and sold it. But now the problem is those people, more often than not, they refuse to vacate those premises. And, well, I think the step that Mr. Makhale has taken, that is the correct step, to evict these people. But now the dilemma is, as soon as the sheriff turns his back, the neighbors and every member of the community would come and kick out the person that has just bought the house. And you know, it creates a lot of problems, and you cannot occupy that house because you know, it's very dangerous. You would be risking your life and your family's life, and therefore, what aggravates the problem even further is that the banks really don't want to get involved. The law says if someone buys a house from the seller, the seller must deliver that house. And delivery in this case, the word delivery is a technical word. It simply means that the seller should deliver the house by handing over the keys to the buyer. But be that as it may, in the townships it's a very serious problem. Even if the seller were to do that, hand over the keys, the bottom line remains the buyer cannot occupy that house.
Masthathe ukubana even the seller now, baba lo uhlala endlini, beyazi indlu iyathengiswa. This did not come as a surprise to him.
No, I can tell you so much. It didn't come as a surprise to him because, I mean, he knew he couldn't afford the installments, and probably he hadn't been paying for quite some time. For the bank to get to that point, you must have been, you know, in arrears, like seriously in arrears, you know, so he sort of expected that.
Ungabuthini wena tata Makhale kule situation ngoba i-producers zethu uthe xa zisiya kuye wabesithi nayo nawo amaphepha athi le ndlu yeyakhe?
Izolo uye wafika ke mathe ngiyezwa ukuthi bona abantu lapho bashuta indlu ngithi ufika aphethe i-statement service delivery uthi ngathi indlu eyami kanjani kanti le statement service delivery sisavelise yena. Ngithi no mina nginamaphepha waye wena ongazi ngaphambili ngamaphepha akho uthi lamaphepha indlu yakho bese start imoto yahamba.
Washeka ngolo hlobo. All right, mandize kwi-office ye-sheriff because again in this particular case you went to court and the court granted an application in your favor. Sheriff yafika uchazile ba yakhupha impahla but i-community came back. Babuzondi ndifuna uza kuwe ke ngelixesha yokubana indima yenu kwi-situation efana naleni thini na as the sheriff's office nenzani nina kanye kanye?
Ngiyakubingelela lapha e-studio. Umsebenzi ka sheriff usebenza ngedocument, a legal document which esibiza ngokuthi i-eviction order noma i-warrant of ejectment yokuthi ahambe unothimba ayokhipha abantu endlini usheriff. Ma usheriff esefikile lapho ufika abakhiphe bonke abantu endlini akhiphe lempahla ngaphandle, outside from the premises, and then azibeke noma kwi-pavement ukuze labo bantu labo bethatha impahla zabo bese handover okhiye kumnini wendlu. Njengalesi simo nje sikababa Makhale izinto ezikhona emalokishini special ama-township ukuthi usheriff ufika bakhipha abantu endlini abese umuntu okuyena omnini wendlu abasengasakwazi ukuhlaliseka kahle ngenxa yesimo sempilo yakhe ukuthi usaba ukuthi labo bantu bazomenzakalisa. So izinto ezikhona lapho sithi umuntu masemtshela masesekwenzeka lokho aka involve amaphoyisa because it's a criminal case manje mase kunjalo ngoba those people sebekhishe ngokomthetho so abasenalo ilungelo lokungena endlini so it means bad trespasser kufuna be charge criminally ukuthi they trespassing the property.
All right, masikhabe sibamba apho will babuzondisa uphinda siqhubekeke nalomba. For now, let's take an ad break. But before we do that, let me remind you that you can take part in today's program by calling us on 011-714-6918 or 714-6919 or send us an email to consumer@sabc.co.za. Visit our Facebook page, Yilungelo Lakho, or send us a tweet to @Yilungelo. It's your right. We are coming to you live on SABC 1 Mzansi for sure. Sisathetha ke ngqukhache kumele uzinanzile ke xa uthenga umzi okanye umhlaba uthabatha inxaxheba sicalela unxiba ku 011-714-6918 okanye 714-6919. Ungasithumelela ke ne-email ku consumer@sabc.co.za okanye usinondolo ku Facebook page yethu ethi Yilungelo Lakho okanye usithumelele tweet ku @Yilungelo. Earlier on sithethe ne-sheriff utata ubaba uZondi yena ose-KZN uchazile ukubana at this point xa i-community ngenelela isenza lento yenzekileyo kwi-situation yakho it's a criminal offense. Ndiyafuna ukwazi wena ukwazile na uku-involve amapolisa kule meko yakho?
Ya ngazile ukuthi ngihambe ngiyovula i-case. Ngahamba ngavula i-case but bangathola ukuthi le case lami lethatha isikhathi inyanga but the day bona bangibiza amaphoyisa ukuthi ngize ofisini ngize namaphepha ngathola ukuthi lento eyangidina bese ngiyabatshela ukuthi mabayeke but now mase after 8 years ibank yangifonela ethi usahlala ngaphakathi kwendlu ngithi but yendo lendlu saseyakho
kube sekameni lakho
isasekameni lakho thina sifuna imali yethu.
All right, Babu Baloyi ndiyafuna ubuyela kuwe ngendaba utata Makhale bekhe wayithethe sithi ubaba lo usendlini ngoku uze nephepha sithi jonga ndisafumana istatements ndisafumana lamaphepha indlu kodwa isegameni likatata uMakhale yenzeka kanjani lento?
Yeah, once the house has been registered in your names, it's upon you to go to the municipality and let them know, produce your title deed to show that the house belongs to you, and they will change the names from the former owner to you as the new owner. Yeah.
And in this case, uye wakwazi uyenza lonto?
No, angikwazanga kuyenza. Ngoba uzoyenza kanjani because angakahlali ngaphakathi.
All right, masike sithathe ke umbukelo sekhaya utata Albert, welcome to the program.
Yeah, is the problem mara lo kada akhuluma lo chef akhuluma ukuthi bona basebenzile umsebenzi bakhiphe impahla leli community ngeni impahla nje lo umnikazi wemoto wendlu ufanele yena ahamba aya-report akunjalo ngoba angithiyela uhlulekile angasala bayenza i-court order yokuthi bakhiphe izinto laba ba-court order laba bathathile bakhiphe izinto yibo abafanele baye e-court bavule ngesicase yokuthi babambe labantu babuyisela ile mpahla endlini.
Andiyazi nobatata baloyi umvile na utata?
Well, I don't understand this. Okay, what I can say, well, I'm not sure what he said, but I'll respond. Respond to what I think he said. The problem is, yes, as the sheriff, you're executing a court order. The order says you must go and take those people out of the house, and that's what you must do as the sheriff. But then, as soon as the sheriff leaves, remember that the sheriff's duty is limited to taking those people out of the house and locking the doors. But as soon as the sheriff leaves, it becomes a problem because the members of the community will, take the property back and take those people back into the house.
All right.
And unfortunately, I heard the sheriff talking about the police. Yes, it's a criminal offense. The police can come and maybe arrest those people for trespassing. But remember that you cannot occupy that house because the very same members of the community might come during the night and kill you, and the police are not going to give you that protection.
In fact, in your case, besensiva ukubana busoyikisela nobomi bakho wena ngokuba awukwazi noba uyohlala pha uyazi uba kuzakwenzeka ntoni na. All right. Mandize kutata uZondi, Babu Zondi, andiyazi noba uyavumelana nento ethethwa noBaba Baloyi xa esithi umsebenzi wenu is very limited ngoba niwenzile umsebenzi wenu xa abantu bephinde babuyisela impahla ayikho enye into eninokwazi uphinda niyenze.
Sise ayikho isheriff engaphinde iyenze ngesizathu sokuthi and isheriff wenza umsebenzi and then the person who's the owner was sign wathatha occupation, so legally actually i-property i-sheriff yamnika yaba kwi-position yakhe. So now ingakho i-sheriff into engamsiza ngayo i-owner ukuthi in terms of ma-affidavit ukuthi ngempela u-sheriff wafika ukuthi azobakhipha abantu endle babuyela ngenkani.
All right. Sinaye ke uThabo on the line. Thabo wamkelekile enqubeni?
Sanibona kunjani?
Ndiyaphila tata, kunjani kuwe?
Ya, ukhuluma noThabo Tsotesi ngwadeni.
Thetha kunye nathi Thabo, siyakuva.
Ya, mina ngicela ukubuza ukuthi lama charity asebenza kanjani ngoba manje mangifuna ukukhuluma kunabanye abantu bebaqosha ngabelungu bakhipha impahla zabo bazibeka ngaphandle abazami basizakala ngalutho. Yamina nami la ngikhona eFree State ngiyasiza umphakathi sinenkinga leyo yezindlu uphana ngazo ukuthi abanikazi bazo balezi lezo baze ngabalelwa nami edolongweni.
Thabo, ndikuva kakuhle ba i-concern yakho indawo ni?
Mina ngithaba ukuthi Free State eNorthern Eastern Free State.
Benifuna ubuza uthi isikhalazo sakho sithini? Babu Thabo?
Ibinkinga yezindlu nami la ekhala khona edolobheni.
All right, I really can't hear Uthabo there. I don't know if you managed to hear, you also didn't hear him. It's very difficult to hear him, so we do apologize for that. But he was addressing the sheriff in this situation, but I hope we had heard what he had to say. I just want to come back to a situation, because apart from uthenge indlu ngo 2005, siyabona na kwi-insert yethu uthenge istand. Nalapho ufumana ingxaki kwakhona ngoba lesi stand usithenge ngoMarch. Kodwa kungoku kuthiwa funeka uhlawule i-tax and services. What's the story there?
2011 ngahlangana no agent enye ngayo i-New Way Housing what ithengisa ama-stand. So lo i-salesman yabo yeza la kimi endlini lapho ngalamaphepha ukuthi nangamaphepha western, all right. Ngasayina plus uze late naye ajahile ukuthi signa la. Okay, ngasayina wena nomfazi wami sithu ngasendlini. Kusuka lapho ke bibanginike 3 months to pay. So ngathola ukuthi le 3 months to pay, okay, izoba nzima nyana. Bese the first payment ngabhadala 10,000. Bese kusuka the second payment ngithi no man, I must make sure ukuthi lama stand ukuthi yiwo impela na. Ngoba le payment base ibhadala from the bank ama account number. Ngasuka ngaya kuye lo salesman yabo ngathi awungitshele ndoda uyanini kulama office wena kuphi athase Randburg. Ngathi ke uzoya nini athi no ngalosibili. Ngasuka ngalosibili naye ngifuna ukuprova so ukuthi ama stand lawo a right or kanjani. Ngaya khona lama office nase Randburg khona la. Ithe mangifika okay wangibizela lo manager wabo sahlangana umlungu sahlangana ngakhuluma naye wangitshela ukuthi a right and bathengisa amaningi ama-stand yibo abadayisile yabo. So bese ngicela kuye ukuthi man ngicela ukuthi lesi sikhathi usenze maybe 12 months. What okay, no problem, wangenzela 12 months. Bese first payment bhatale December 2011. January another 10,000. March bese nyaka ngiyaceda ukubhatala.
Because
Right.
be 30,000.
Be 33,000 because qala bathi ngikhiphe 10%, ngakhipha 33,000 before. Right, manthethe ukubhatala, okay, nginoki ngaya kule office yalo agent le bethengisa lona le ndawo. Manje ndoda izoshintsha nini? Athi khona amaloya uthi abo mahumna bazangifone. Ngahlala 4 months andlula, after 4 months bangifone bona la maloya. Ndoda fanele uzosayina ushintsha stand suwele kulapha ku, but uqala uzobhatala i-33,000 ngathi kanjani 33,000 ngoba angakahlali kulesi stand and asikakabi egameni lami. Yabo?
All right. Masphinde sibuye lapha kuwe tatane. Sinayo Bonakele on the line. Bonakele wamkelekile enkqubeni?
Manje ngibonsele gqeza.
Hello tata.
Ngibulise lapho tata ohlekela. Uyabona akhona isidumbu njenga le yehlele lo ongaphakathi ozakhuthela impahla. Ngiyamva naye lo uthengileyo wabe akazubhazungela. But as much as by service, because they get paid for the labor and they're got the court. Kodwa kwimeko apho ngokuthi kukhutshwa ngaphandle nemali eziza kumoshakala kuthiwa makayethi. Uyabona abantu endibabonayo mna abadala i-unfairness ziibhanki apho zingakwazi nokuyicingela imeko yokuba isimo somsebenzi ngoba eSouth Africa sibuhlungu. Akho izinto zathenga indlu ayibhatale zekwande phakathi nendawo azixelele uyayiyeka ngoku akafuna ibhatala. It's a matter of lokuba kufuneka kucingwe nezisheriff ezo xa ziyophethana nomuntu zihlale phantsi naye. Uyayiqonda le nto endithethayo?
Ndiyakuva tata.
Kubuhlungu ngemeko apho uzawumoshakala impahla ukhutshwa lapha esitratweni ebunyanisweni ilungelo lakho lokuphulile. Nabo ndiyabaqonda uba they-get paid because funeka bekukhuphile umntu ngaphandle. Ndithetha ukuthi ke ziimeko ezibuhlungu esiphila phantsi kwazo bafuna sijonge nemeko yemisebenzi ithini. Ndiyayiqonda nto endiyithethayo.
Ndiyakuva tata Bonakele, enkosi kakhulu for your contribution. He is bringing a human interest angle to it, which is understandable in the sense that somebody has to go out, and his question is where is it supposed to go. But ngokomthetho uyithengile indlu, asikwazi ke ngokuvela sihlale sithi akufananga umuntu akhutshwe ekufanele ba uyaphuma. Ndiyafuna ukuthi we did speak to the agency that sold you this stand, and they responded to some of our questions, and somewhere they said that they explained all of this to you. Agent lena ke budibene nayo ithetha yathi bidibana nawe nenkosikazi yakho, and they explained all of these things to you. Wothukile ke ngoku xa besithi kuwe funeka ukhuphe enye 33,000. Ingaba wena ngokuqonda kwakho kwenzeke ntoni na? Khange bayichazele into ku?
No, kima ke abayichazanga le nto le kimi. Abayichazanga total. Mina ngimangele bese bangifonela ukuthi kufuneka na 33,000.
For
ama services. Ngathi kanjani ngoba ngakahlala endlini. Kuba ngihlala lapha bengizothi okay ngizayiphatala kuba ngiloko ngihlala la. Angakahlali and khona kulesi stand futhi akunamanzi, akunama pipe wastom water. Into engicabanga ukuthi kufanele ukuthi sizobhatala yimi ukuthi size ngase-Jardini. No.
All right, Babu Baloyi, after the ad break, ndiyafuna sikhe sijonge lomba exactly what happens in this process. Makeke siphinde sithi evenkileni, please join us after this ad break. Welcome back. You're still on Yilungelo Lakho. It's your right to take part in this show. Please call us on 011-714-6918 or 714-6919. You can also send us an email to consumer@sabc.co.za. Send or visit our Facebook page, Yilungelo Lakho, or send us a tweet to @Yilungelo. Babu Baloyi, ndifuna ubuyela kuwe ngoba uTata Makhale usichazela imeko yakhe. Uwafumene amaphepha akhe. Uyothuka ngokuba funeke kubekho imali extra funeke ibhatele. Ingaba into bakwenzeke ntoni?
Okay, in my understanding, what the Estate Agents Affairs Act and the regulations there to say is that the estate agent must explain all the terms and conditions of the agreement in the language that the buyer understands. And now, from what you have said, it seems the agent the agent alleges that that's what they have done. But what I want, the advice that I want to give is that it's very important, you know, it's very important that before you append your signature to a legal document, you speak to your lawyer, someone who understands exactly what you know it's all about, what the transaction is all about, someone that would be able to advise you appropriately on what exactly should happen. Because your lawyer, for instance, if I receive that deed of sale, before I sign, if I speak to my lawyer, the lawyer should be able to say, clause so and so is very dangerous. If you agree to this clause, you must understand that this is what you're binding yourself to. And in my opinion as your lawyer, this is how I would love the clause to be worded. It's very important for people to do that.
Ndiyabuza kwakhona if umuntu akanayo lawyer,
yes,
uyenze njani ke ngule situation, because in most cases I should think that this does not happen. Uyabona lento ithethayo uthi umuntu ujonga iclose ethile athi ilawyer yakho izokwazi ukuthi no, this one is dangerous, but it doesn't happen often.
Yeah. The last time I checked, Legal Aid South Africa was offering those kind of services free of charge. Of course, they have their own means test, you know, through which they would determine whether you qualify for their assistance. If you go to them, for instance, they should be able to give you a lawyer free of charge who would sit down with you and go through all this, through the agreement, word by word with you.
All right. Sinaye Joyce from Gauteng. Joyce, wamkelekile enkqubeni?
Hello.
Hello, Mama.
Likai?
Kiteng, Mama, likai?
Kiteng.
Thetha nathi ke mama. Awuvakali. Hello, Mama Joyce. Hello, Mama Joyce. I really cannot hear Mamu Joyce, and I hope we can try that line once again. I really cannot hear. Mamu Joyce, are you still there?
Hello.
All right, we have vakala ke ngokuthini?
Kirekile ntumumuntu. And I can reka
cash, okay.
Yeah, but particular.
Hello, Mamu Joyce. Our lines are really giving us a problem this afternoon. Hopefully we'll try and sort that out. Umthetho, when it comes to lemeko sithetha ngayo namhlanje, uthini?
Like I said, when you buy a house, you know, any other property, for instance, that requires you to conclude a legal document. But more problemarily advising I found that Makhale gore this agreement. I feel they must look at it. Obviously, there could be something that they could do.
All right.
Yeah, to assist him. Yeah.
All right. Joyce ubuyile emnxebeni. Joyce, welcome to the program.
Hello.
Hello, Mama.
Likai?
Kiteng ma thetha kunye nathi Mama.
Ashi?
You can talk to us.
Okay. Kile ka reka motho go tsha go ditse. Asene ke reka 2094. After 10 years,
all right, Mama Joyce. The line is really bad, but I don't know if you were able to make out what she was saying.
I'll try, but I think what she says is that she bought a house in 1994, and she's been staying in that house all along. And after all that period of time, someone, or apparently the seller, the person that sold the house to her, came and said she owed her 9,000 rand. Now she doesn't understand what that it's all about, because apparently the seller cannot also explain that. But then I think the major is a lawyer, and then udulele wana fasi or alternatively, muto aufe outlalosetse in detail, or and if osa experience any problems in regard to that, speak to your lawyer who would be able to take up the case on your behalf and speak to that to the seller about it.
Let's come back to Ubaba Makhale. He's sitting here. You've heard both his stories. He bought a stand, he bought a house in 2005, and in both cases, he seems to be having a problem. What would be your advice to him at this point? Okay.
My advice to him, if he seems to be saying, insofar as the sale of the stand is concerned, he seems to be saying that the estate agent did not explain in detail or in the language that he could understand what the transaction was all about. My advice to him is come to the Estate Agents Affairs Board. We will be able to take up your case and investigate the conduct of the estate agent. And you have to remember that as a regulatory body, the Estate Agents Affairs Board is limited only to the conduct of the estate agent. But at the same time, that might assist him if he takes, should he take his matter further, in terms of, he should be able to say that I've approached the Estate Agents Affairs Board, investigations were conducted, this person was found guilty, or this is how the matter was finalized, and this is where we are at the moment. That could boost this case going forward.
All right. For now, let's take another ad break. Please join us after this. Welcome back to Yilungelo Lakho, it's your right, and we continue with our conversation. Babuzondi ndiyafuna uza kuwe uyivile yonke into esiyithethayo namhlanje from the Sheriff's Board. Ndifuna ukuqonda kuwe mhlawumbi your advice in this situation, especially xa sithetha ngale meko sithetha ngayo i-case study yethu. Utata Makhale ukhona naye namhlanje uyasixelela ingxaki zakhe. Ingabe ungangenelela uthini wena?
Baba Makhale kule point yakhe ye-land, ye-land ayishilo ukuthi wathenga i-property, i-land akakazakwazi ukuthi ahlale kuyona, akafaka namanzi kodwa uthola ukuthi sefuna ukuthi akhokhe iy'ndleko zayo. Bengibona ukuthi uBaba Makhale laba abamdayiselile ama-estate agencies befuna ukuthi athathe i-process ngoba akakwazi ukwenza lento yokuthiwa i-application ye-eviction engakama-documents akhe angakapheleli ukuthi iland iregister egameni lakhe. Kodwa ma ukube isiregistiwe egameni lakhe iland, uBaba Makhale engakwazi ukuthi apply le eviction order ukuze abantu bekhishwe kwiland, noma ngase kuthiwa sebakhile, noma ngase bakhe izindlu noma imjondolo, i-eviction iyakhishwa inkantolo ukuthi sheriff makahambe afike anikeze i-applicant i-position ye-land kudemolishwe imjondolo esuke ikhona esibekwe kuyona.
Babu Baloyi, ndiyakubona uyanqwala inhloko, ungangenelela uthini?
Yeah, actually what I want to say is what the sheriff, what Mr.
Zondi.
Mr. Zondi is saying is so correct. Okay, the law says that if, for instance, you own that, let's say, for instance, he already had that land transferred in his name, then he would be in a position to approach a court of law and obtain an eviction order. But in this case, he cannot because he doesn't own the land. If he was owning the land, even if someone had already built something on that particular land, if someone comes and builds their house on my land, that house that they build on my land becomes my house as well because the land is mine. That's what the law says. Yeah.
So yena funeka thini ke ngoku kule meko le process ibambeke phi ke ngoku?
I think what he needs to do now, okay, before I get to that, it's very important that when people buy property, especially when they buy from a company, they need to satisfy themselves that the person that they are dealing with, the person that purports to be representing that company, is duly authorized to do that. Because if that person is not authorized, that might create problems when you take them to court. But if, for instance, they were authorized, they were acting within the course and scope of their employment with that particular company, you can, take that company to court. What I can say to Mr. Makhale at the moment is that he must, make sure that he takes legal action, firstly, either to force those people to perform in terms of the agreement or to refund him and terminate the agreement. Because at the moment, it's going to be difficult for him going forward. He cannot even apply for eviction because he doesn't own that property. Well, okay, I think we need to draw a line because between what a legal firm does and what the Estate Agency Affairs Board does. The Estate Agency Affairs Board does not provide legal advice. It's not a law firm. But what they do is they regulate the conduct of estate agents. What he can do, yes, I can advise him to bring all those documents to the Estate Agency Affairs Board. We will have a look at that. We will investigate the conduct of the estate agent. And if this particular estate agent is found to have, acted in a manner that contravenes the code of conduct for estate agents, definitely we'll do something about it.
All right. Babu Makhale, I cannot even begin to imagine how this has affected your life. I mean, from 2005, on top of that, you have to deal with this issue. How has this impacted your life?
Ngoba khona manje impilo yami imile straight ngoba akhona ukungena ngasendlini masingithi ngiyalibala ngendlu ngithenga istand naso kuvela yenge inkinga ngapha ngaphakathi kwestand and la sihlala khona kusekhaya yabo and sengishadile umama naye ufuna umzi wakhe yabona mama so kutsho ukuthi manje asiyazi ukuthi sime kuphi ukuthi singayenza
all right.
If sitolo umuntu ozosinceda ngalezinto lama problems aphela hey singabonga.
All right, Babu Uzondi, umbuze nawo from what you have observed, abantu baye bancedakale kwimeko ezifana nezi.
Sisi ngingasho ngithi mina uba Makhale ngizolana naye kakhulu ngoba okokuqala nje akazange akwazi ukuthi washeshe wa give up kwe property oqala ayithengile ukuthi isheriff ithesi bakhiphile abantu wase ngenxa yokusaba wasengasakwazi ukuthi aqhubeke necase yakhe emaphoyiseni ngoba esabela impilo yakhe ngoba ilonto izomfaka esimeni sokuthi umuzi uregister egameni lakho wakhe initially akushintshe ukuthi wakhe so now into ebalekile uba Makhale kwakufuna ukuthi yena aphesiwe imetha emaphoyiseni ukuthi labo bantu labo ba arrest bakhishwe endlini ngoba umuzi awukhokhela ibank lifuna imali yakhe Makhale. And then ube uMakhale wathatha even a step further engibatshele abantu ukuthi go to the local authorities ushintshe ugesi abantu befahlala bengena ugesi ngoba once wayakhona washo ukuthi lo muzi wami ngivala ama services ahamba ayekhona unalo ilungelo Makhale ukuthi enze lokho.
Enkosi kakhulu Babu Balo, Tatu Zondi, Babu Balo ndifuna ubuyela kuwe in terms of consumers' responsibility in this situation. Like, how important is it for consumers to be vigilant when it comes to signing any documentation?
Yeah. This is actually a very sad story because as the Estate Agency Affairs Board, we have seen a lot of these kind of cases, especially in the townships, your so-called locations. And unfortunately, from our side, the Estate Agency Affairs Board is just a creature of the very same Estate Agency Affairs Act. And that act prescribes exactly what is it that we must do. We cannot do anything that's not provided for in the agreement. So what we do, okay, we try as far as possible to assist consumers in terms of, making sure that estate agents behave properly, abide by the code of conduct. But then the reason I'm saying this is a nightmare for a lot of people, for the Estate Agency Affairs Board, for the banks, for everyone else that's involved, and most importantly, the consumers themselves. Once the bank has received their money, unfortunately, they sit back and say, no, we cannot get involved. And they're going to insist that you continue paying your bond. Now, excuse me, my advice to the consumers out there would be that, they must be very, very careful when they deal, when they buy a property. If someone comes to them, Ababule Lauro is from the Estate Agency Affairs Board, Bafonele Estate Agency Affairs Board, to check whether this person is registered, whether this person is duly licensed to sell the house. And they must also you know, I know. Unfortunately, when someone, you know, buys property, they become very excited because they are owning a house. And in the process, they forget to check all those, you know, important things that they must look out for.
Right.
They forget to read the fine prints, for instance.
Is there something we can pick out from that? Because we are watching it affects our Kholi townships.
Yes.
In donors notice if umane kula ndawo leyo kanye mhlambi language ebhalwe ngayo le documentation iyona lento yenza abantu bangaqondi kakuhle ba kuthwani na?
I'm not sure what documentation you're referring to.
Like the contracts that people have
Yes.
to sign. I'm
Yes.
just saying if the language is also a barrier where
Yes.
people don't understand exactly what it said.
Yeah. You know, I would advise people to, you know, ask for a copy of that document before they sign. Take that copy, go back home, call your child, your daughter, your neighbor, anyone else that speaks your language. Sit down with them, baobalele the document in the language that you understand. Remember that your neighbor or your daughter is going to approach it, you know, rather differently to the estate agent. Because remember, the estate agent and the seller just want to sell the house. But your neighbor, for instance, will be able to sit down and say, no, Makhale, in this case, I don't think this is in your best interest. And I don't think you should do this.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. We do have a caller on the line. Masikwamkele Nkqubeni? Hello, Dada. Okay, we seem to be having a problem there once again. But okwangoku ke make siphinde sibuyele evenkileni, please don't go away. Welcome back. Siqhubeke ngengxoxo yethu ephathelene nezinto okufuneka uziqaphele ke xa uthenga umzi okanye umhlaba. Sishukela imizuzu emincinci kakhulu kodwa ndiyafuna sijonge like the nitty-gritties of buying a house. What would be your advice to prospective home buyers, especially those first-time home buyers?
Yeah, for first-time home buyers, the first thing that they must do, like I said earlier on, by company estate agents are first bought, check, because in most cases, it is estate agents who sell those houses. Check whether this person is registered. Whether this person is duly registered, they're entitled to sell that house. And then the second thing, inspect that property. Inspect the property, find someone, an expert, check out the roof is not leaking when it rains. You know, if you can find, you know, some expert checking the structural, you know, standing of the house itself, whether it's the structure is sound and those kind of things. And then most importantly, make sure or understand what the agreement says, because hangada, that's where the problems, you know, that's where you find the problems. You find that moto you know, maybe he's going to inherit, for instance, the fittings and fixtures, only to find that that was not the intention of the seller. Make sure that you understand each other in terms of, you know, as far as that house is concerned. And I think Seseng Hape, Buale Bangaya how in terms of, you know, our advice or when, you know, having regard to your income. How much can you afford towards the repayment of that particular house?
Would it be the same as what is called a verification process?
Yeah, something like a due diligence, a verification process to make sure that, you know, the property that you're buying is worth what you pay.
All right.
Remember, you know, buying a house, for instance, that's probably the most, you know, the biggest investment that you'd ever make in your life. And make sure that, you know, when you're sitting in that house and paying the installments, you are happy with what you pay for.
All right, just your tips to people, things to remember.
Yeah. Things to remember, as somebody and telling you that they are an estate agent, please check if that person indeed is an estate agent. And I cannot, you know, overemphasize this. I cannot say this, you know, I can not overemphasize the fact that, you know,
all right.
Okay, no, it's fine. Yeah. No,
all right. For now, we've come to the end of today's show. We'd like to thank our guests for making time to be here. Sibulele nani ke babukele ngoba nathi kude kube ngoku. Please join us again next Friday for another live consumer topic of the week from 1:30 to 2:30 in the afternoon. Ukanti ke xa ufuna ukubukela impinda yenkqubo zeYilungelo Lakho dibana nathi kwalapha ku SABC 1 ke ngemivulo from 9:30 to 10:30. Ukuvakalisa ke izimvo zakho ngale nkqubo sithumelele email ku consumer@sabc.co.za or send us a fax to 011-714-6420. Visit our Facebook page, Yilungelo Lakho. Follow us on Twitter @Yilungelo. From me, Sisanda Jonas, and the entire team, it's goodbye. Nibe nexesha elimnandi.
Elakho mnganwa, elakho mnganwa, elakho mnganwa, awungelakho mnganwa, oma yakhe timpolompo, awungelakho mnganwa.